Jai Gurudev. I hope you all did your homework. Yeah? We were supposed to complete reading till page 82. Yeah? Did you all do that? And you were supposed to watch Inception. Remember? Has everybody watched Inception? Those who have not, yeah, see that you watch Inception this week. Okay? Now until page 82 we saw Ahilya and Indra's story where Indra was cursed by sage Bharata, yeah, and nothing happened to his mind. Only his body got destroyed. So the question that what happens? Why does only the body get affected and not the mind? Yeah? So we'll just look at the letters in bold on page 82 that you've already read. One should endeavor with the mind to make the mind take to the pure path. With the self, make the self tread the path of purity. Why is that? That also is there next. What the mind contemplates, that instantly materializes. Yeah? You may say, oh, I did not want this to happen in my life, but it still happened. Yeah? Your fear, oh, I don't want this to happen, I don't want this to happen, I don't want this to happen. You are putting so much attention and focus in that thing that you don't want to happen. Yeah? The universe gets a wrong signal. Just your attention on something makes that materialize in your life. Yes? So whatever the mind contemplates, that it materializes. By intense contemplation, it can bring about radical change within itself. Yeah? So just like you say, I don't want this, and that really happens to you in life, when you really move towards your own spiritual growth, towards the inquiry of the self, who am I? Yeah? Then there is a real change, a radical change that can come in you. You can heal, to heal itself of the defective vision in which illusions were perceived as real. Yeah, we perceive this entire Maya as real. Yeah. All this can be defeated just by your one-pointed focus in the direction of your own spiritual growth. Yeah. What the mind does, that it experiences as truth. It makes the man who is sitting in moonlight experience burning heat. Yeah. And it makes one who is in burning sun experience cool comfort. Such is the mysterious power of the mind. That's where your homework ended. Yeah, and I hope that really got you into awe of the mind and recognize, oh yes, this is what has been happening to me. Hasn't it been happening? Yeah. Whatever you focus your attention on, that grows in life. You focus on abundance, there is abundance in life. You focus on lack, there is lack in life. Yeah? This even is a new basic course point. Yeah? The new format course, in that it is the law of attraction. Yeah? It states the same thing. Whatever you focus on, that you attract into your life. Yeah? So we'll move on now to page 83. Aditya will read for us.
Vasistha continued. Since the absolute Brahman, in its undifferentiated state, pervades everything, everything is in an undifferentiated state. When that of its own accord condenses, the cosmic mind is born. In that mind, there arises the intention of the existence of the different elements in their extremely subtle state. The totality of all this is the luminous cosmic person who is known as Brahma, the Creator. Hence, this Creator is none other than the cosmic mind. O Rama, all objects and substances in this universe have emerged in Brahman, the Absolute, just as waves manifest in the ocean. In this uncreated universe, the mind of Brahma, the Creator, perceives itself as the egotism, and thus Brahma, the cosmic mind, becomes Brahma, the Creator of the universe. The power of that cosmic mind alone appears to be the diverse forces in the universe. Infinite numbers of diverse creatures manifest themselves in this cosmic mind, and they are then known as diverse jiva. When these diverse jiva arise in the infinite space of consciousness, seemingly composed of the elements, into each of the bodies, consciousness enters through the aperture of life force, and thence forms the seed of all bodies, both moving and unmoving. Thence, birth as individuals takes place, each individual being an accident ally, like the crow alighting and a coconut falling, brought into contact with different potentialities whose expression gives rise to the law of cause and effect, etc., and thence to rise and fall in evolution. Desire alone is thereafter the cause of all this.
I will stop you there. Yeah, we have done this n number of times. Yeah, how from the pool of consciousness, that one Brahman consciousness, all the jivas came up. Yes, we have done this n number of times before. Just imagine if a huge piece of magnet were to break into innumerable pieces. Yeah, all these innumerable pieces are of different sizes, so therefore they have different degrees of magnetism, or that magnetic power. In one little particle as small as a sand particle, the magnetic power is very little, and in a big block of broken magnet, the power is stronger, but still it is there. Yes, just like that, that Brahman consciousness has divided into this diverse jiva, yeah, which are plants, animals, insects, human beings, moving and non-moving objects. But it is the same Brahman consciousness everywhere. And how did this begin? Just with that first desire. First, I am something. I. Yeah. So therefore, look at the last sentence. Desire alone is thereafter the cause of all this. Yeah. Highlight this. Write in bold, underline it. Remember this. Desire is always the cause of all chaos in the universe. Yes, this is Maya. Yeah? That is how Maya is designed. Yes, it is designed on desire. What is my raga and dvesha? That which causes duality. Yeah, raga and dvesha is desire. I like, I don't like. Just like is a desire, don't like is also a desire. Yes, so remember that. The same desire that seem to be explosive where the Brahman consciousness is concerned, that same desire is explosive where this little mind is concerned, and this little mind's own Vishwam is concerned. Yeah? And it leads to all the problems. Yeah? Therefore, desire is the cause of all this. We can read further.
O Rama, such is this forest known as world appearance, He who cuts its very root with the acts of investigation or inquiry is freed from it. Some arrive at this understanding soon, others after a very long time. O Rama, I shall now describe to you the divisions of beings into the best, the worst, and the middling, as it happened in the beginning of this cycle of creation. The first and foremost among the creatures are born of noble practices. They are naturally good and devoted to good deeds. They reach liberation in a few lifetimes. They are full of the quality of purity and light, sattva. The middling types are the ones who are full of quality of dynamism and desire, rajas. When such people are close enough to liberation that on their departure from this world, they reach it. They have a mixture of rajas and sattva. They who even after 1,000 births are still in darkness, unawakened, are known as beings of darkness, tamas. They may take a long time to reach liberation. By the will of the infinite Brahman, all these beings seem to arise and then dissolve in it.
Okay. Yeah, so now what are we talking about? Yeah, do not imagine it as heaven and hell. That's not what we are talking about. What we are talking about, all the beings around us in this Vishwam, yeah, all the beings in this Yoga Vasistha class. Yes, remember this, that all of us are a mixture. Somebody is very Rajasic, somebody is very Tamasic, and somebody is very Sattvic. Yes, that's all that this description is about. That some are Sattvic and they quickly get there. Some are Rajasic, yeah. Rajas, you remember? Lots of restlessness, yeah, more agitated, get easily angry, yeah. Very Rajasic, yeah, take a longer time, but they are at the middling level, at the middle level, yeah. The Tamasic people are the ones that take the longest. But does that mean now you start labeling yourself, oh, I sleep a lot, I am very tamasic? No. Rajas, tamas, sattva arises and falls in every person. Yeah? So do not go into labeling after listening to this or reading this. Just understand this, that this is the way the distribution is. So if there are other people around you who are not in knowledge, yeah, be compassionate to them. Yeah? They just take a little longer, but they will all get there. Yeah? So we'll read the sentence in bold. O Rama, such is this forest known as world appearance. Yeah? That means this Vishwam, this samsara. He who cuts its very root with the acts of investigation or inquiry, he is freed from it. Yeah. So what is investigation? What inquiry?
Self-inquiry.
What is self-inquiry? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Am I this body? Am I the mind? Am I the intellect? Or am I the memory that just stores all this information? Oh, maybe I am that ego that's saying I. Who am I? Who am I? Niti, niti, niti. Not this, not this, not this. Yeah? When you go deeper and deeper, recognizing I am not this body, I am not this mind, I am not this intellect. These are all tools. Yeah? I am the one who uses these tools. Yeah? I am the one who observes the thoughts coming and going in the mind. That means I am not the mind, I have a mind. Yeah? I am not the body, I have a body. Yes? This is self-inquiry. Who am I? Who am I? So homework number 1 for you. Do some self-inquiry today. Before you go to sleep, lie down on your bed and say to yourself, who am I? Ask yourself this question and see what is the answer you give. Doesn't matter what the answer is. Discard the answer, again ask yourself this question. Who am I? 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 Yeah? Just keep asking yourself this question. Okay? Everybody has to do this, huh? Okay? This is your homework number 1. So now we'll move to page 84. Yeah.
Vasistha continued, when the cosmic mind manifested itself in the absolute Brahman, at that very instant the natural tendencies of diverse beings and their behavior were born, and the embodied beings came in to be regarded as Jiva. There is no division between mind and action. Before it is projected as action, it arises as the mind. It arises in the mind, with the mind itself as its body. Hence, action is nothing but the movement of energy in consciousness, and it inevitably bears its own fruit. When such action comes to an end, mind comes to an end too. And when the mind ceases to be, there is no action. This applies only to the liberated sage, not to others.
Yeah, let me stop you there. This is a very important paragraph. Yeah, we will elaborate more in the rest of the page, but we will read this once more. Yeah, we will start with, there is no division between mind and action. We discussed this earlier also in last week's session. Yeah, there is no difference between mind and action. Yeah, because it first arises here. Yeah, before the body gets up and does that, it has already happened here. Irrespective of whether the body gets up and does that or not, yeah, the karma phalam will happen because the thought came. You get it? Yeah, you remember the little story of that priest who could not perform that religious yajna or the religious rite. So, because with the body he could not perform it, in his mind he performed it. And he got all the fruit. Whatever karma phalam of that yajna he wanted, he got. Yes? So what does this tell us? That it is in the mind. If a thought came, you nurtured the thought, action is done already. It does not matter whether you got up and really did it or you did not do it. You see what I'm saying? Yeah? So, we'll read that sentence again. There is no division between mind and action. Before it is projected as action, it arises in the mind, with the mind itself as its body. Means, in the mind you have already done it. Karma is done. Impression is created. So if impression is created, what is bound to happen? Karma phalam is bound to happen. Yes? So, hence, action is nothing but the movement of energy in consciousness, and it inevitably bears its own fruit. Yeah? When such an action comes to an end, mind comes to an end. Yeah? And when the mind ceases to be, there is no action. This applies only to the liberated sage, not to others. Yes? And people like Gurudev and others who are liberated, they have reached that stage where there is a state of no mind. Yeah? Everything is spontaneous because the dharma calls for it. This particular at this particular time, this particular situation demands, that is why the action happens. There is no mind that is working out of any raga or dvesha. The mind has come to an end. Yeah? So when the mind ceases, there is no action. Yeah? And when there is no action, there is no karma phala. Clear? Yeah? This applies only to a liberated sage. And we can all get there. Yes? All of us. Yeah? You're already liberated. You're just pretending, like I've told you so many times before. Yeah? The moment you do that self-inquiry of who am I, who am I, who am I, this pretension stops. You recognize that. And just that recognition is liberation, is enlightenment. Yeah? So, we read ahead now.
Mind is the only perception, and perception is movement in consciousness. The expression of this movement is action, and fruition follows this. Whatever the mind thinks of, the organs of action strive to materialize. Hence, again, mind is action. However, mind, intellect, egotism, individualized consciousness, action, fancy, birth and death, latent tendencies, knowledge, effort, memory and senses, nature, maya or illusion, activity, and such other words are but words without corresponding reality. The sole reality is the infinite consciousness in which these concepts are conceived to exist. All these concepts have arisen when, by accidental coincidence, for example, the crow dislodging the coconut, the infinite consciousness in a moment of self-forgetfulness viewed itself as the object of perception.
Okay, like we spoke about when you are teaching a little kid ABCD, yeah? You become a kid. You come down to that level and teach him, as fun. When you're teaching him 1, 2, 3, 4, you jump down one step and then he jumps down one step, yeah? You go to his level of understanding and explain. It's the same thing. All these words, maya, fancy, egotism, mind, intellect, etc., all this is just for us to understand, because we are at that level of that little kid. Yeah? We are lost in this maya. Yeah? These words are really non-existent. Yeah? The most beautiful sentence there is, all these concepts have arisen when, by accidental coincidence, the infinite consciousness, in a moment of self-forgetfulness, viewed itself as the object of perception. Means what? Means you are already enlightened. It's just in a moment of self-forgetfulness. You have forgotten yourself. That's it. In this moment of self-forgetfulness, you think that you are the object of your perception. Yeah? You think I am this body and I am in this samsara. Yeah? Because I have forgotten myself. I have started identifying with this body and this samsara. All that is just a projection. Yeah? I am that Purusha. Yeah, I am that Brahman consciousness, that self. Yeah? That has just forgotten. Clear? Yeah? We'll move ahead.
When thus wheeled by nescience, the same consciousness views diversity in an agitated state and identifies objects as such. It is known as mind. That itself, when it is firmly established in the conviction of a certain perception, is known as intellect or intelligence. When it ignorantly and foolishly identifies itself as an existent separate individual, it is known as egotism. When it abandons consistent inquiry, allowing itself to play with countless thoughts coming and going, it is known as individualized consciousness or mind stuff.
These are very beautiful definitions of mind and ego and intellect, yeah, and how you get stuck in mind stuff, yeah. So just a description of what happened to this consciousness that forgot itself, and when it forgot itself, it thought it's the mind. And what is the mind? It is explained. Then thought it is the ego, just a false identity, and it is explained, yeah. So these are very pretty definitions. You can mark them, highlight them.
Whereas pure movement in consciousness is karma or action without an independent doer, when it pursues the fruition of such action, it is known as karma, which is action. When it entertains the notion, I have seen this before, in relation to something either seen or unseen, it is known as memory. When the effects of past enjoyments continue to remain in the field of consciousness, though the effects themselves are unseen, it is known as latent tendency or potentiality. When it is conscious of the truth that the vision of division is a product of ignorance, it is known as knowledge. On the other hand, when it moves in the wrong direction towards greater self-forgetfulness and deeper involvement in false fancies, it is known as impurity. When it entertains the indweller with sensations, it is known as the senses, which is indriya. When it remains unmanifest in the cosmic being, it is known as nature. When it creates confusion between reality and appearance, it is known as maya or illusion. When it dissolves in the infinite, there is liberation. When it thinks I am bound, there is bondage. When it thinks I am free, there is freedom.
This is so beautiful. Yeah, you got definitions of everything. Maya, memory, ego, karma, karma phalam, everything. Yeah, even samskara, that latent tendency or potentiality, is a samskara or a vasana, or what we call in English an impression. Yeah, so beautiful. Yeah, all definitions you got, but everything relates to that one Brahman consciousness. When the Brahman consciousness thinks I am free, it is liberation. When the Brahman consciousness thinks I am bound, it is bound, and it is either the mind or the intellect or the memory or the ego or karma or maya. Yes. So beautiful, na? So page 84 is clear. Yeah. We'll move to 85 now.
Vasistha continued. Rama, space is threefold. The infinite space of undivided consciousness, the finite space of divided consciousness, and the physical space in which the material world exists. The infinite space of undivided consciousness, Chid Akasha, is that which exists in all, inside and outside, as the pure witness of that which is real and of that which appears to be. The finite space of divided consciousness, Chitta Akasha, is that which creates the division of time, which pervades all beings, and which is interested in the welfare of all beings. The physical space is that in which the other elements, air, etc., exist. The latter two are not independent of the first. In fact, the others do not exist.
This is so beautiful, yeah? Chidakasha, Chit Akasha, yeah? And the physical space, yeah? So, that space, that Brahman consciousness which is there everywhere in the universe, right from all the Milky Ways, all the galaxies, the multiverses, yeah, right till inside an atom,
Past, present, future, everything.
Everything. Yeah? That is Chidakasha. Yeah? In English it is the infinite space of undivided consciousness. Yeah? That is Chidakasha. Chittakasha is what? Chit, the mind. Yeah? Wherever that which creates the divisions of times, which pervades all beings, the subtle mind, yeah, that energy which is thinking, yeah, that energy, the thought energy, yeah, that which processes everything, that which projects out into the samsara and creates the samsara, that is Chit Akasha. In English it is the finite space of divided consciousness. Yeah? And you know the physical space. This is the physical space, the physical world, which is made up of the 5 elements. Yeah? So these are the 3 spaces described here.
O Rama, whatever might have been the origin of the mind, and whatever it might be, one should constantly direct it towards liberation through self-effort. The pure mind is free from latent tendencies, and therefore it attains self-knowledge. Since the entire universe is within the mind, the notions of bondage and liberation are also within it. In this connection, there is the following legend which I heard from the creator Brahma itself. Listen to it attentively.
Before we go ahead, in this paragraph, what do you remember from Ashtavakra? That bondage and liberation are only in the mind. You remember that beautiful sutra? Yadha aham tada.
Yadaham bandhanam tada.
Yes. Yadaham bandhanam tada. When there is I, there is bondage. Yada naham. When there is no I, tada moksho. Then there is liberation. Yes. And towards the end, Ashtavakra says there is no bondage and there is no liberation also. Yes. Both of them do not exist. The same thing, see, Vasistha is telling you. Exactly the same thing. Yeah? The notions of bondage and liberation just exist within the mind. Yeah? So now we will go into the story. The next story begins.
There was a great forest, so large that in it millions of square miles were like the space within an atom. In it, there was just one person who had 1,000 arms and limbs. He was forever restless. He had a mace in his hand with which he beat himself, and afraid of the beating, he ran away in panic. He fell into the blind well. He came out of it again beat himself, and again ran away in panic. This time into a forest. He came out of it, again beat himself, and again ran away in panic. This time into a banana grove. Though there was no other being to fear, he wept and cried aloud in fear. He kept running as before, beating himself as before. I witnessed all this intuitively, and with the power of my will, I restrained him for a moment. I asked him, "Who are you?" But he was sore distressed and called me his enemy and wept aloud and then laughed aloud. Then he began to abandon his body limb by limb. Immediately after this, I saw another person running like the first one, beating himself, weeping and wailing. When I similarly restrained him, he began to abuse me and ran away, intent on his own way of life. Like this, I came across several persons. Some listened to my words and, abandoning their previous ways of life, became enlightened. Some others ignored me or even held me in contempt. Some others even refused to come out of the blind well or the dense forest. Such is the great forest, O Rama. No one finds a sure resting place in it. Whatever be the mode of life they may adopt. Even today, you see such people in this world, and you yourself have seen such a life of ignorance and delusion. Because you are young and ignorant, you do not understand it.
So beautiful, no? This story is so well explained. Yeah, everybody around you is just running. Yeah, it's a running race, and then they beat themselves up. They are fearing their own selves because all the people in their lives are just a projection of their own mind. Everybody around, yeah, is actually insane. Yeah, including you and me. Wow. Amazing, isn't it? Yeah. Let's read ahead.
Vasistha continued, O Rama, this great forest is not far away, nor is that strange man in a strange land. The world itself is the forest. It is a great void, but this void is seen only in the light of inquiry. This light of inquiry is the I in the parable. The wisdom is accepted by some and rejected by others, who continue to suffer. They who accept it are enlightened. The person with thousands of arms is the mind with countless manifestations. This mind punishes itself by its own latent tendencies and restlessly wanders in this world. The blind well in the story is hell, and the banana grove is heaven. The dense forest of thorny bush is the life of a worldly man with the numerous thorns of wife, children, wealth, etc., hurting him all the time. The mind now wanders into hell, now into heaven, and now into the world of human beings. Even when the light of wisdom shines on the life of the deluded mind, it foolishly rejects it, considering that that wisdom is its enemy. Then it weeps and wails in distress. Sometimes it experiences an imperfect awakening and it renounces the pleasures of the world without proper understanding. Such renunciation itself proves to be a great source of sorrow. But when such renunciation arises out of the fullness of understanding, of wisdom born of inquiry into the nature of the mind, the renunciation leads to supreme bliss. Such a mind may even look at its own past notions of pleasure with puzzlement. Just as limbs of the person as they were cut away fell down and disappeared, the latent tendencies of the person who wisely renounces the world also vanish from the mind. Behold the play of ignorance which makes one hurt oneself out of one's own volition and which makes one run hither and thither in meaningless panic. When one who gains wisdom preserves it for a long time and persists in the practice of inquiry, he does not experience sorrow. An uncontrolled mind is the source of sorrow when it is thoroughly understood, and sorrow vanishes like mist at sunrise. The absolute Brahman is omnipotent, and there is nothing which is outside of it. It is his own power or energy that pervades all things. In embodied beings, it is the Chit Shakti, which is the power of consciousness or intelligence. It is motion in air, stability in earth, void in space, and the power of self-consciousness, I am, in created beings. Yet all this is nothing but the power of absolute Brahman, the instruments of action and the doer, birth, death and existence. All this is Brahman, nothing else, even in imagination. Delusion, craving, greed and attachment are non-existent. How can they exist when there is no duality? When bondage is non-existent, surely liberation is false too.
Okay. Back to the same sutra of Ashtavakra. Yeah? There is no liberation and there is no bondage. Yeah? So now homework for you. This beautiful story, you will put it as a flow chart. Yeah? Like the person with 1,000 arms is equal to the mind. Yeah? Then what? The mind punishes itself and wanders in this world. And then the blind well in the story is hell. Banana grove is heaven. Yeah? You make a flow chart or you make a nice pretty diagram. Yeah? So you remember this story and you have to send this in an email to me, each one of you. No copy pasting from each other. Yeah, this is your homework. Yeah, and put up that diagram somewhere, that flow chart that reminds you that you are only beating yourself. Yeah, this whole world is just a projection of your own mind. Yeah, your raga led to somebody who you like very much to be in your life. Your dvesha also has led to somebody to be in your life who you don't really like too much. Yeah? But your dvesha attracts somebody like a magnet. Even your raga does that. And that's how your Vishwam is created. Remember last week I said batch production? Yeah? We are only doing production of all these people in our world through our own mind. Mind is only action. Yeah? So recognize this. Yeah? So you will, homework number 1, you will create that flow chart or that diagram, however nicely you can depict it, and email it to me. Each one of you, I want one email from each one of you. Yes? And this, we'll read this, the bold sutra once more. This is very beautiful. In fact, the last entire paragraph is very beautiful. So we'll read that.
The absolute Brahman is omnipotent, and there is nothing which is outside of it.
Everything is Brahman. The person you love is Brahman. The person you hate is also Brahman. That villain in your life, yeah, who is shooting arrows at you, yeah, he is also Brahman.
It is his own power or energy that pervades all things. In embodied beings, it is the Chit Shakti. It is motion in air, stability in earth, void in space, and it is the power of self-consciousness, I am, in created beings.
Yeah, it is the same Brahman. Like I told you, that magnet broke, and that magnet broke into so many different sizes. Yeah, and that one little grain of sand, yeah, one little grain of that magnet is a small little thing, yeah, which does not attract you so much, but a bigger piece really attracts you. Whether it is raga or dvesha, doesn't matter. You are stuck. You are glued. Recognize this. This is also the power of that Brahman consciousness. Doing the same thing in everybody, the same Maya. Maya is its nature. That is why you are lost in it. Yeah? That same Brahman is the flowing nature of water. The same birds is the same Brahman is the song of the bird. The same Brahman, yeah, is in a human, and in an ant, and in an elephant, and in a hippopotamus. Yeah? It is the same Brahman.
The instruments of action and the doer, birth, death and existence, all this is Brahman. Nothing else is even an imagination. Delusion, craving, greed and attachment are non-existent. How can they exist when there is no duality? When bondage is non-existent, surely liberation is false too.
So when everything is just that one magnet, yeah, how can I say one is a little grain and one is a big rock? Yeah, that big rock I call the moon and one little grain I call an atom. It doesn't matter what names I give to it. It's finally the same magnet in different sizes, in different proportion. Yes, it is the same Brahman, same consciousness everywhere in everything, manifesting as this Prakriti which is visible, and the invisible atoms and microscopic subatomic particles. Yeah, it is all the same. all one, the same Brahman consciousness, the same magnet. Then if it is all one, where is the duality? Where is the I and where is the you? There is no I, there is no you, there is no duality. Yeah? So if there is no duality, there is no bondage and there is no liberation. This is also duality, no? Bondage and liberation. Yeah? Both of them do not exist. Yeah? Beautiful, na? Yeah? So, I've given you homework for this week. Yeah? And I insist, those who have not watched Inception and Interstellar, please go and watch. Yes? These concepts will become even more clearer by seeing them, yeah, through science. Yeah? And also, those 3 videos that I had sent to you, yeah, Jayashree, please send it to everybody again. Yeah? Do watch them. Yeah? And I will see you next week. Your homework for next week is to read page 87 and 88. 2 pages. Huh? And we will begin with page 89. Okay? And if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email. Okay? Jai Gurudev.